So tell me, what are the priorities of a Dixon administration if you were to be elected?
Well, first and foremost, education, to get our kids back on track. You've seen the latest numbers are saying that we've lost 3 decades of reading progress in the state of Michigan. So get our kids back on track and then make sure that we have a good education system going forward. Also, you see the rising crime rates. We want to make sure that we invest in our police officers and reduce regulation to make it easier to do business in the state.
Speaking of education, I know that's a top priority of yours. What kind of governance would you have over the school's curriculum in public schools? I know you've taken issue with a lot of things that you say are being taught in schools, but how hands-on would you get with actually affecting the curriculum?
Really, we're not talking about curriculum. We're talking about these side pieces of information that are coming in. You see these books that are in the library that are sneaking into kids every day, taking it home, doing a book report on that. So we're talking about making sure that we're preventing that kind of information from getting to the children. So, and that's something that you see some legislators have already drafted up bills on that. So we're looking at their bills to make sure that we can work with the legislature on
Would you do anything in the way of executive order, right? You take office day one, we're talking about education. Would you do anything off the top of your head that you can think of to, again, affect what kids are learning in schools without the help of the legislature?
No, we're working closely with the legislature on this, and we believe that they have the same interests that we have, and my goal is to always work with the legislature.
Yeah, so essentially if people want to know what you're going to do on education, they should look to some of the pending bills?
Yes.
Okay, got it. As far as some other priorities, I know I want to ask you about Proposition 3. We mentioned this in the debate, but I want to ask you again, if Proposition 3, Proposal 3 passes, if the lawsuits work out in the favor of some of these groups that are seeking to codify abortion access, I know you said you would accept it as the will of the people. Is that still the case?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I've said before multiple times. I think that's the interesting thing about this ballot this time is that if they want to choose that extreme measure for abortion, they can. We also have the judge that has ruled in this case, and so we know that either way, that's likely going to go, that there won't be a ban. I just would love to see those protections. That's why I like the idea of seeing where the judge takes it, because I believe those protections of making sure that if you're a minor, you have parental consent, making sure that you're a doctor if you're performing an abortion. I think we need those limited, at least those.
Yeah, so I'm going to hit you with one that we again talked about during the debate, and I wanted to give you the chance to rebuttal. But, again, you said many times that you don't want to criminalize abortion. That was something the governor accused you of. That 1931 law does that. It's a 4-year felony for a doctor to perform an abortion again. So just the contradictory nature of it, do you support that 1931 ban in its full entirety, including that felony charge?
Let me be clear. Whatever the law is, I will support the law. I don't write the law. I don't write legislation. So when she somehow connects me to the 1931 law, I don't write it. I will support whatever the law is.
Okay, fair enough, including that 4-year felony ban, because again, that's in the law.
I'm in the position of being governor. If that's the law, you're asking me to go against the law. If you want to change the law, you must talk to the legislature.
Okay, fair enough. So using private funds for education as well, how do you plan to get that done? Because I know you're a big champion of charter schools and private institutions as well.
Well, as you've seen, the legislature already passed the bill last year that would have allowed choice in education through a corporate tax credit. I'd like to see an education savings account program, so we're looking at that, and once we get into office, we'll be presenting that plan.
Yeah, you have not been running a ton of ads, and I've seen them back at the station. We see a lot of political ads. You have not been running a lot of them. What's your messaging been like especially for undecided voters? People, you came out in Rick's debate and said a lot of people, this may be the first time that you're hearing from me. So is that a disadvantage to you? How are you trying to message to people who may not know who you are?
No, we have campaign ads out. There are also allied groups. You've seen MAGA Inc. come in. You've seen the RGA come in. Michigan Families United is running ads. So we feel there's a lot of messaging on air right now, but also that's why we're doing events like this today. So we're going around the state. We're getting our message out. We want to make sure that people feel that they're invited. No matter where we go, we feel a ton of momentum. We have a lot of people coming to these events. So we feel that in the next 8 days, we're going to be able to get our message out.
Yeah. Also wanted to ask you about roads and infrastructure. I know that's something that you and the governor have gone back and forth on quite a bit. It was a big promise of hers when she was running last time. What would your plans to fix the roads in Michigan be? Because, no matter who you are, I think we can agree that that's necessary.
It's absolutely necessary. We have to make sure that we include that in our annual budget, that we're able to have the maintenance program that we must have. Any business, you have a maintenance program when you know you have equipment that needs to be maintained. Michigan has been kind of remiss in making sure that that budget is set for maintenance and then for new infrastructure projects as well. So I want to make sure that the budget includes that yearly maintenance, and then we move on to new infrastructure projects.
Yeah, another question on education too. Again, it's timely, so I have to ask about it. Some of the comments that were made on the Civil War and on Democrats being unhappy about the North winning the Civil War, and I won't go into any further than that. I know you know what I'm talking about. Is that incendiary? Is that an accurate depiction?
Do you think that that's the story out of this debate, though? Don't you think that that is a distraction from the fact that Governor Whitmer came out and said that our kids were not out of school longer than 3 months, and then all of a sudden she drops a bunch of her opposition research? I made the point that I believe that our kids should be educated with a proper history. The people who are preventing that from happening are Democrats still to this day. They are preventing that from happening, and here they are trying to distract from the governor lying about education with a different story. That's the problem we have. This governor is dishonest. She continues to be dishonest.
Well, I'll ask you about that too, right? Because again, the governor did say that, and we were both there in the room when she said it. Ultimately, the decision was left up to those districts after a certain point.
So you're really going to go with that?
Well,
No,
wasn't it though?
This.
Wasn't it?
Think about this. She came out multiple times, shut down high schools again. She's in control of the Health and Human Services Department. And it's not even that she said, I only had an order for 30 days. She said, our schools were only shut down for 30 days. Imagine how heated parents are when they know that some of their kids were out of school in 2022. Yes, it was dishonest. And if you as the media are going to hold her water, then you have to consider whether or not you're being an honest journalist.
Well, that's fair. I'm following up from something that the governor said, and I wanted your take on it as well. How do you bring down inflation and costs for energy for Michiganders if you're elected?
There's a lot of opportunity to bring down energy costs, especially not shutting down Line 5. That's something that we've seen Gretchen Whitmer say on multiple occasions that she's trying to do. She has a lawsuit out there. But we could have had a gas tax holiday. That's something we need to look into. We have a surplus right now. She decided that she wasn't going to allow that to happen because she didn't think it was happening at the exact right time. Right now, people need to have a gas tax holiday. It could be happening, but she decided to veto it.
Yeah. If Jocelyn Benson is reelected, if Dana Nessel is reelected, and you're elected, how would you work with people of opposing viewpoints in some very important positions?
Well, I would definitely sit down with them and meet regularly. I hope they would be willing to do the same.
Yeah, and of course, yep, that's perfect. This is the last one I want to ask anyways. There's already people who are having doubts about what the outcome of this election will be. We know Christina Caramo filed a lawsuit over some of the procedures. No matter what happens, are you concerned about this electoral process, what's going to happen in, again, 8 days? And no matter what happens, will you accept the outcome of it?
I just want to make sure that Jocelyn Benson runs a legal election. We know a court has already said she can't do what she's been trying to do, so obviously we're waiting to see if she goes to court with that and is able to be successful with changing the rules at the last minute. So I'm concerned that this is a trend with Jocelyn Benson, but I know we have a lot of boots on the ground.
Yeah, and just one follow-up. Even if you don't win, will you accept the results?
I have to see how she runs the election.
All right, fair enough.